This is episode 29 called Healthy Mentorship with Caroline Lady C Fraser. That song was called Easy by our guest today, Lady C, alongside Koflo. The track itself hit #1 charts on TrackSource. Make sure to purchase the vinyl on catchtheghostrecords.com or stream and download the track on Apple Music and Spotify. What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Unplugged podcast presented by the Dance Plug Toronto. My name is Roy Bonozo, and I'm a former dance studio manager turned dance entrepreneur and advocate. Each week, we bring you a dance artist with stories of life experiences working in the industry, along with opinions about current events and hot topics in the city. Before we hear from today's guest, here is an update that we would like to share. New for 2020, we will be highlighting a dance video each month to showcase and recognize the dancers, choreographers, and producers involved for their tremendous work. We are looking for videos that stand out from the norm, concept videos that think outside of the box from set location to videography and the choreography. Keep an eye out on our Instagram page for more details. This week, we sat down with the All Styles queen herself, Caroline Lady C Fraser. Originally from Calgary and now living in Toronto, Lady C has a worldwide reputation as one of the top females in street dance. Her unique versatility stretches from popping and locking to house, hip-hop, and jazz dance, and she seamlessly moves through each genre with style and integrity. Lady C is affiliated with Soul Shifters Crew and Symbiotic Monsters Crew, and is also a vocal recording artist on Catch the Ghost Records in California. In her episode, we talk about the link between healthy mentorship and the preservation and longevity of the dance culture, the difference between training and just getting down, and also her journey into music. This week's episode is brought to you by Dance Vocab, the world's first and only app designed with the aspiring dancer in mind. Learn and practice hundreds of individual dance moves across multiple styles, anywhere, anytime. The perfect way to practice outside of dance class. Download the app for free today on iOS, Android, and on dancevocab.com. This episode is full of inspiration. We hope you enjoy listening to it. Wherever you're listening from, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Without further ado, here's episode 29 called Healthy Mentorship with Caroline Lady C Fraser. Two-time Dora Maver Moore Award winner, world-renowned dance artist, and Dancer Award of the Year presented by Gadfly. I am joined today and very honored to be sitting beside the queen of all styles herself, Lady C. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Roy?
Good. Welcome to the show and welcome to Unplugged.
Thank you.
Let's talk about humbled beginnings. Where does your journey in dance begin?
I feel like I've told this story so many times. I got to find a cooler way to tell it. So I started dancing when I was really young. My mom was a dancer and my grandma, and I just have kind of a lineage of it.
Nice. In
my family. So it was a little bit of a non-choice to be a dancer. My mom just put me in dance, and I did the whole ballet, jazz, tap, studio thing. Did that all the way through high school. When I was 15, my sister, well, through my sister, I kind of stumbled into this dance workshop. It was like a summer camp.
Yep.
Called the Get Down. And that's kind of where I found street dance. And so it was basically a 2-week summer camp where all the, well, not all, but some of the pioneers and OGs of street dance were there teaching. So that's how I discovered what popping is, what locking is, breaking. I didn't even know anything about it. The internet wasn't really a huge like way to find that stuff out at that time either. So it really was just like at the right place at the right time. And so that's how I got into street dance. But yeah.
Nice. And this all took place in your hometown. I would assume you're not from Toronto, right?
No, I'm from Okotoks, Alberta.
Okotoks. And for those who need a geography lesson, where is that?
It is south of Calgary. So super small farm town, south of Calgary. Yeah.
Very nice. Who would you say are some individuals that played a key role in your development as an artist?
As early as it goes back, for sure, my mom. She just taught me a lot about how to observe art and observe dance and how to learn quickly. So a lot of the reason why I pick up things really fast is because my mom sort of trained my eye of like how to observe things like feeling, things like angles in the body, subtlety. So she played a huge role even to this day in like the way that I analyze and observe dance and movement. Then I would say my sister would probably be next in that line, Saxon Fraser. So she was also a dancer and we worked together even when I was like young. She would choreograph my solos and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we started working together and we sort of just like discovered a lot of things about dance together and we were sort of side by side a lot through our journeys. And then I would say the third person that had a huge influence on me was Tara Wilson, who is actually the person that organized that camp called Get Down. She's one of the first people actually in Canada to like bring a lot of the pioneers and OGs to Canada, period. Like no one was really doing that at the time. And she just happened to be in Calgary, Alberta of all places. So I was just really lucky.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Frank Boogie used to fly all the way out to Calgary to come and take those workshops. And Neo Boog, who's also from Toronto, and Boogie Mystic, a bunch of people from Vancouver used to come out. People used to come out from the States. Like, so if not for her, for sure, I wouldn't be where I am. And also, I think the Calgary community would not have been what it was if not for her. So
that's great. Yeah, people, I mean, when you mention Calgary, you don't think of it as a dance city.
Not at all.
At all. I'm aware of some of the communities there, but you don't expect it. I think it's a city that's very very underrated and full of talent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, I guess today you travel the world. You've created music, which we'll talk about later on. But how often do you train these days in comparison to, when you first started?
It's funny, the word train was never even really in my vocabulary until I moved to Montreal. Because I think in Calgary, what we used to just say, we just get down. And a lot of what that meant was like, just put on music and get free, So it's hard to even say like I trained at all ever. But I would say when I was younger and first learning these dances, I spent a lot of time like going into the studio by myself, kind of watching myself in the mirror, filming myself. But I never really like did drills or anything like that. I would just get down, watch myself and be like, okay, what was good? What was bad? What do I need to work on? It was a lot of like self motivation, I guess. So nowadays, like I would say I don't train really. I do general like physical training. Like I go to the gym, I run, I do all that kind of stuff just to make sure my body is still able.
And it's still important for those of you listening.
For sure. But I think for me, training my dancing, the thing that I'm trying to get better at is getting free. And that's not really something you can just like put hours in the studio. You just have to find that. It's a really tricky thing. It's something that you have to find sort of from within, and like just being able to put on music and not really think too hard is what I'm trying to get good at. So for me, training is like going to the club, going and getting down and sessioning with people that I'm close with and feel comfortable with. So Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Would you say you've, built a natural love when you're in those environments?
Yeah,
For it?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, like there's no other feeling that can replace the feeling when you, like in my crew we call it catching the ghost, and that's why the record label is called that. So when you catch the ghost, it's just this moment where the music is right, the atmosphere is right, the people around you are good vibes, and you throw down in a cipher or whatever it is, and you don't even remember what you did. You were on another planet, you were in another time zone, you just sort of black out. That's the ultimate feeling for me. And it's a hard thing to find. All those elements kind of have to be right. So that feeling is just like, yeah, you can't measure that,
Nice.
It's amazing.
Nice. Now, this next question comes in from one of your students, Kosi. Do you see a link between healthy mentorship and the preservation/longevity of the dance culture?
Oh, Kosi, good one. Definitely. I think, I would say, I'm pretty sure Kosi would say too. That's probably why she asked the question. But I've been a mentor to Kosi, and for me, what that meant was really just being able to see the amazing qualities that were already within her and just helping her unlock those, rather than teaching her a bunch of stuff and then making her feel like she owes me something for that, or making her feel like now she's sort of a what do you call that, like a descendant of me or my teachings or my way of doing things, And I think a large part of why I kind of subconsciously approached that relationship with her like that is because I think a lot of the quote unquote mentorship that I had through OGs and things like that sometimes were a little unhealthy. And, I don't even know if they would really realize that, but I think sometimes I felt like I was holding myself back because of certain expectations that I thought were being put on me to like do things the right way, or, I had to credit the right person and I couldn't roll with this crew or these people that thought this way. Otherwise I was going against their thoughts. And I don't know, there was just a lot of these like controlling behaviors that I didn't like. And once I was free of those, I felt like I was a much better dancer and I enjoyed the culture more. So yeah, I think healthy mentorship is like super important. And when I think about the people that really truly were mentors to me, they are the reason why I am the way I am, and I am the type of artist that I am. And the good qualities about me were more from those people,
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's important to the culture that we, as this generation that's now being in these positions of mentors, like being mentors, we have to be careful of what we hold over their heads,
Yeah. Have you found it difficult to, especially in the position that you're in, have you found it difficult to preserve the culture?
I think it's not my place to preserve the culture because I came along quite a lot after the fact, If anything, it's the OGs that are probably feeling very torn. But I think it's tricky because with street dance, the history is really important and knowing where it comes from and the foundation, but also what makes it unique is always bringing a new approach to things and a uniqueness to things. So you can't really have that without being willing to let some of it go and move forward. Otherwise everything's going to stay and look the same. And that kind of goes against the whole spirit of the culture, which is to be an individual. So yeah, I think there's certain things that I'm sad don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
The main one is the social aspect. I really miss going to the club and dancing with street dancers at the club. And that just doesn't really exist much anymore. Like it's rare. So I really wish that still existed because I think there was something really special about that. But the internet kind of changed that. And so I have certain personal things that I'm sad don't exist anymore, but I also have to recognize that it's a new generation and they have a different way of socializing. They have a different way of coming together and sharing information and sharing what they do.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, part of me holds on and part of me lets go, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Has the let go been more difficult than hanging on?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because you get bitter. You're like, these kids don't know what hip hop's really about. And then I think to myself, well, who says I do? You know, like I came along 20 years after the fact. So who says I know what hip hop is? And maybe things that I did in my generation with my peers were like considered super whack to the OGs, you know? Matter of fact, I'm sure, because they would say it. They would say it a lot, and it got annoying. And I remember that feeling of being annoyed that they were so bitter all the time. And, you know, eventually now they're letting go, and it's so much easier to get along with them now. So I try to keep that in mind because I don't want to be like that, you know. But it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, I want to read an excerpt from the Toronto Guardian where they had an opportunity to write a article about you. And they've stated that you are one of only a handful of people in the world that can seamlessly cross over 4 or 5 dance styles at a high level and without compromising the form and essence. How do you feel about that statement?
Sounds a little conceited to say it's true, but I think it is a bit rare. Like now that being an all styles dancer is kind of become a thing, there's more dancers that are able to do that. But certainly when I was coming up, no one was really doing that. You kind of had one style, maybe 2 that you stuck to. That was your thing.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I just couldn't choose because I loved every one of those styles and I loved the music that went along with it too. So I just couldn't choose which one I wanted to do. So I just did them all. And I think that it is kind of a rare thing for sure, just because it takes a long time to be able to get good at one of those things.
Yeah.
You know, and I think probably people think that I started with one and then
just built on that. Yeah.
But I literally started them all on the same day. So I had the same amount of time with each of them. And it's been 15 years. So that's quite a lot of time to spend with each of those dance forms and understanding it. But understanding each one of them took a lot of like understanding the culture around them too. Like I can't be a house dancer and not understand club culture and like not have ever stepped into a house club.
Yeah.
Or like listen to house music. Like it just doesn't work. So yeah, I think I really, really spent a lot of time trying to understand each of these dance forms and where they come from and why, and the history, the music, the culture, all of that. So I guess it would be kind of true. Yeah.
Nice. Now, earlier on in the episode, you were talking about how you grew up into dance at a very young age. And you talked about, jazz, ballet, tap, and all that. Do you still use, those styles to a certain extent in your career today?
I think probably, yeah, most definitely. I think it would be more things like certain techniques that I kind of hung on to, like how to turn really fast and spot your head.
Yeah.
These are like useful tools just in general. But a lot of what, ballet has to it is a dance form doesn't really help you much in street dance because a lot of it is very regimented. It has to be done a certain way. You're really meant to like copy your teacher and try to get it perfect, right? So street dance is a little bit the opposite of that. So I think when I crossed over into street dance, more than anything, I had to kind of let go a lot of the things that I learned. But yeah, there are some tools that I probably still use. For sure, I learned how to perform in those younger years.
Yeah.
I learned how to like be on a stage. So those things are definitely useful now.
Speaking of stage, recently you presented some commissioned work for Fall for Dance called Conversation. When working towards or even building like commissioned work like this, how do you begin your creative process?
For me, music is really important to start with. I find it really difficult to like create work having no clue what the music is going to be.
Yeah.
I've always been a dancer that kind of reacts to music. So for me, especially in this one, I had a local band called Reverse create the music from scratch.
Nice.
So it's all original compositions. And so what they did is, well, Damien, who is the band leader, we had a bunch of conversations. I gave him a bunch of music and I said, this is kind of the sounds I'm going for and the genres I'm going for. Can you make stuff that sounds in this realm?
Yeah.
And, you know, them being super professional, they came back to me with like a recorded 4-track demo that was like beautiful quality and like amazing. All the songs were amazing. I had 0 notes or changes. So that is what I started with, was the music.
Nice.
And then once I had the music, the demo recordings, then I went into the studio, made some chunks of choreography. But then the difficult part about creating that was that it's a street dance piece and I wanted it to be really true to street dance. And so how do you do that? Because street dance is all based around freestyle.
Yeah.
How do you do that in a choreographed work? So I think I started with the bones. I started with the skeleton, made a bunch of stuff, bunch of, you know, pieces of choreography, taught it to the dancers. And then the hardest part was going back into the work, picking it apart, and also allowing the dancers to be themselves within the work. And that was really important to me. And I think that in the end, when it finally hit the stage, is what people were most drawn to and affected by, was like these 5 individuals on stage, like being themselves. And you could see these 5 characters on stage.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was the trickiest part, but I think that was the most meaningful part of the work, for sure.
One thing I do want to talk about is how were you able to, get street dance into a more commercial setting?
I don't know. I think a lot of what I learned about putting street dance into a theater format, I learned back in Calgary. A lot of the guys that I came up under, like the b-boys that I came up under, had these super creative minds, and they were creating work like that before it was even a popular thing to do. Like, and I was asked to be in it. I don't know why. They were like 10, 15 years older than me. I'm like 16, 17, and getting to be in these pieces, these theater shows where the work, like they were choreographing to Jay Dilla, Madlib, like really abstract stuff for that time. Because at that time, you know, if street dance went on stage, it was like, you know, super Hip Hop International 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of stuff, you know. And so for that time, they were doing stuff that was quite out of the box, and it was all about storytelling. It was all about creating a vibe. It was all very abstract and sort of contemporary in essence. And I think still to this day, a lot of how I approach putting street dance into theater or on stage comes from being a part of those works when I was younger, and like seeing the possibility of street dance telling a deeper story than just like being this very superficial, you know, thing. So I owe a lot to those guys that started me out.
Yeah. Another important point that I took from your last answer was that you ended up collaborating with a local band, you said, right?
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to continue these, or like for artists or dancers specifically, to collaborate with other artists?
Yeah, I think it's really important, but also really hard, especially if you're someone like me. I'm very much a perfectionist and somebody that needs to be in full control of my creative input or my creation, I guess. But when you find artists that are on the same page as you, then it's magical. But that's really hard to find at the same time. I would say I have that with Koflo, and I had that right away with Damien from Reverse. I hadn't met the other band members for quite a while into the process, but with Damien, because he's a b-boy, he's part of Albino Zebra, so he understands dance, and he's so knowledgeable with music, and he's just also very professional in his methods. So we clicked very easily. So I wasn't worried about whatever he was bringing to the table. Like as soon as he sent the demo, I was like, oh, perfect. This is going to be so easy to work with them, you know? So I think it's important, but it's also important to choose wisely who you collaborate with. You have to be on the same page mentally and creatively.
Do you think just the fact that they have some sort of experience in dance is what made it easier? Is what made that process easier?
I don't know. I think actually because they were just really good at what they do made the process easier for us, because the music was so dope. We were just able to get into a zone like right away. As soon as they came to the first rehearsal and started playing, all of us were just like, oh, cool. Like it's going to be easy, because they're good at what they do and we're good at what we do.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of time to like spend time with each other, but even towards the end of the process, once we were in the theater, when we had time to like even just get down with each other and they would just play and we would freestyle, that even worked. So I think if we had more time with working on this piece, we would find a groove that would run even deeper than that. Because then we started to really understand each other's art too, you know?
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about music. How did you get into it, first of all?
Kind of same way I got into dance. I have a lineage of music in my family too. My mom was a singer, professional singer. I have one of her vinyl records here actually. And my dad is a singer and plays the guitar.
Nice.
So I grew up around music. My dad always had musicians coming over, playing in the living room while I'm trying to go to sleep. Yeah. So it was always around me and always encouraged. So I'm really lucky I had two parents that were super supportive of me being in the arts of any kind. And so, yeah, my dad got me a little acoustic guitar when I was young, probably 15 or something like that, 14. And I just kind of taught myself how to play it and started writing songs in my bedroom. And it was a really private thing at first. I just would go in my room and be creative, and that was my space. And that's how I got into music. And then, when I got a laptop, I think I was 17 or 18, I got a laptop, and then I started recording myself and learning about the recording art side of it.
Nice. Where would you say you draw your inspiration from when it comes to writing music?
So many different places. I listen to so many different types of music. I grew up on country and western and rock and roll. I was into punk music for a long time. Now I listen to house, funk, soul, rock, you name it, hip hop. So the way I write comes from a lot of these places. Sometimes when I write, I'm writing something that's similar to an old like country folk song, even though it might be on a house tune.
Nice.
I draw a lot of inspiration from rap, like the cadence and flow of rap. I find very rhythmical, and that excites me. So a lot of stuff I've written, like my song Womankind, I wrote as if I was rapping it, and then I just sang it. You know, so I take inspiration from a lot of different places when I write, for sure.
That's great. Now today you're signed as a recording artist on Koflo's label, who we've mentioned a couple times already, Catch the Ghost Records.
Yeah.
And you've produced multiple electronic and even house tracks with him. Did you ever see yourself as a house music artist?
No. That was... I don't know if I've ever really like had in my mind what I thought I was going to be. I think I just always have gone with the flow and like let the universe move me. So house music, I never thought I was going to be doing so much of it. I definitely thought I would dabble in it.
Yeah.
But that's just the thing, is that when the ball's rolling, I think you just let it roll. Like, and I've really enjoyed the process too. And I think a lot of that's because of that same synergy that I have with Koflo.
Nice.
And the way that we work and the way that we think, you know, and approach art and approach music. So yeah, it's really interesting though, because since doing house music, I've had these like wild experiences of playing like in a club, doing a live set with Koflo, and then I look in the audience and it doesn't hit me until that moment. Like all of my mentors and teachers in house dance and music are in the audience, like dancing.
That's crazy.
Getting down to my music. And it just hits me like a ton of bricks. Like it's crazy when you don't pay attention and then all of a sudden you realize like, whoa, I'm there. Like I did this. I'm on this side of the coin now. That's so strange and beautiful. So that's been a really amazing reward and treat for me.
Have you ever thought about creating music to different genres?
Yeah, I have. I have 2 funk records on vinyl. And Koflo and I are actually working on my solo album. And I don't think there's any house music on it. It's a lot of, it's all electronic. It's all, digital. And, but there's a lot more like down-tempo funk, pop kind of sounds, dance music, not necessarily house, but danceable music. So yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Today, what keeps you inspired?
The people around me. Like I'm around the most incredible artists all the time. It's really hard not to be inspired. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Like even if I just look within my own crew, like the people that are in my crew, Kosi being one of them, Koflo being one of them, Monster Pop, Venom, Ross, like I could name every single one of them. They all inspire me so much. Tsunami, like these are people that when they dance, I'm just like blown away. And then they all have these like other talents that they do in their off time that's like just as amazing.
Nice.
So this is what inspires me for sure, is like the people that are around me. They're just so motivating. Yeah.
There's a second part to that question, but what inspires you every day to keep pushing? Other than just, I guess, being surrounded by people who inspire you.
To keep pushing?
Yeah.
I think something happened in my life when I was in my late teens that kind of put in perspective the fragility of life and maybe the amount of time that we have on the planet. And so I think maybe not consciously, but I think subconsciously I decided in that moment that I was going to make the best of it and not waste it. Because yeah, it's really crazy. You don't know how much time you have. And not even that. It's like also just life is really beautiful and there's no sense in just like doing day to day really mundane and like not doing anything special with your days that you have. So I think that's what motivates me the most for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you could give your younger self any advice, what would it be?
That's a really tough one. It's a tough question because even all the mistakes that I've made have gotten me to this place, which I wouldn't change that.
Yeah.
So if I gave my younger self any advice, I would just say to like, soak it up, soak it all up. Like, don't take anything for granted, good or bad, happy or painful, and just live every moment and like try to remember it because it's all going to be so special. My life has been so special. So I think I would say, yeah, soak it up, girl. Yeah.
Did you ever think that you'd be at this point in your career right now? Like, I mean, as artists, we obviously set goals for ourselves, right? But, as time goes on, obviously there are certain things in your life that, could alter the path of where you essentially want to be. Yeah. Did you ever picture yourself at that point?
I think I did, actually. I think I did picture myself doing all the things I'm doing. I mean, of course, not in these exact ways, but the amount of times that I've had these moments of like, oh my God, I totally manifested this. Like when I was young, I manifested this moment that's happening right now. Like singing on stage in front of all these people in the house community or putting out my record or when my song played at Juste Debout in the final battle, like things like that. I thought I didn't realize until it was happening in that moment wow, when I was younger, I had this dream of my music playing and people being able to dance to my music in battles, and it happened. So I think I did actually think that this is what I wanted to do. And it's a pleasant surprise that that's where I ended up, you know? So it also helped me realize the power of manifestation. And I'm kind of going like, damn, like what else can I manifest that I really want to happen? And yeah, I think it's really, really wild and so beautiful that that's how life works sometimes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I do want to talk about, I guess, your experience as a international teacher and choreographer. One particular place that I do want to talk about, which I saw on your resume, is that you taught in Uganda.
Yeah.
Right? Can you talk about, I guess, the experience of being able to share your craft in a country like that, and what makes, I guess, your experience teaching at that country different from where you've taught anywhere else?
I had so many crazy experiences in Uganda, actually. I went twice. And to be honest with you, I went there thinking that I was going to teach and share so much. And I ended up learning way more from them than they did from me. I mean, I'm sure they learned something from me, but it was just, I learned so many more deeper lessons than anything that I could have taught them. So I think that was actually a really good lesson in like being a teacher, is to also be open to learning as you're teaching, like learning from the people that you're teaching. And there was a lot of things that were kind of like brought to my attention that I didn't really think about before. One of them was being a woman. I never, ever thought of that as being a big thing, ever. And a lot of it has to do with because I was surrounded by totally supportive men that just never treated me any differently, always believed in me. Guys would come to my class and want to learn from me. So I never had this experience, and I know some women do, of like being different. But when I went to Uganda, I didn't even think about it. But in that culture, being a woman is very much, you have a very different life experience from being a man, just in general in that culture. So that bled into the dance world for them. And there was all these girls that didn't think that they could dance how the guys dance, just based on that mentality. And I didn't even notice until people started telling me, look, when you get in the cypher, now all these girls are starting to crowd around. And then the girls would start getting in the cypher and trying stuff. Then they started getting on the floor and breaking because I was breaking. And so I didn't notice that until someone pointed it out. And then I realized the importance of it. Because, you know, in North America, it's not the same dynamic between men and women. I think I learned that about like different cultures. It's not the case, you know. And so that was a huge lesson for sure. Another time they took me to a men's prison. And that was wild. Like I went into this prison where there's like 800 inmates who probably most of them are not even guilty of the crimes they've been accused of. They just go straight to jail. And here I am like teaching them the Fresno. And those moments like just kind of change you, because I'm thinking to myself like, how did dance get me here? This is crazy. How did learning the Fresno when I was 15 come this crazy full circle that now I'm here in a Ugandan men's prison teaching this to like a bunch of inmates, you know? So I think like the experiences that I had in Uganda and so many other countries that I've been to, like they're just so eye-opening in so many crazy, awesome ways. But I would say I learned a lot more than I taught. But I think you have to also be really careful how you teach in those places, because you have to just be a little bit open and aware that maybe things don't work the same in your country, or maybe things don't mean the same thing in your country, or there's different ways of showing respect. Or, I don't know, just like all these little nuances that you kind of learn as you go. But yeah, it's always interesting teaching in different countries for sure.
Nice. To wrap up, are there any new and exciting news that you'd like to share? Like what's next in your journey?
What's next in my journey is music. I'm hoping in 2020 I will have an album out, my own album, with my name on it. CoFlow is doing most of the production, and so we're just kind of wrapping up that project. It's been a long process, something like 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the next thing for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye out for that, and we'll definitely share that on the platform once it's out.
Yeah, I also have a Spotify too, like that has my music on it as well. So you can just search Lady C on Spotify.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Great. Do you want to drop your socials? Like, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. So Instagram is usually the best one. So that's Caroline Lady C, and the same name on YouTube. If you want to subscribe on YouTube. On Facebook, I have an artist page, which is just Lady C, and same thing on Spotify, Lady C.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening. This was another episode of the Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to continue that conversation with Lady C. If there's anything that maybe touched you throughout this episode and you want to talk more about it, feel free to continue that conversation with her. My name is Roy, the host of the Unplugged podcast, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.